So I want to talk to you. He's a lot coming.
Yes, yeah, June, so that's going to be busy. So it's not just going to be racing this year. It's going to be family stuff.
Well, congrats, first and foremost.
But anyway, that guy, he'd come back out, and he'd come into turn one, look over his shoulder, and next lap around, he got a rock off the side of the head.
Your grandpa actually did it?
Oh, did it.
Threw a rock into the car and hit him.
About the size of a baseball, he said. He said he never looked back again. Fixed him.
That's funny. I mean, that's. I guess that's one way to break a bad habit.
Yeah.
He's a man of his word.
It took, yeah.
A man of his word. So from your grandfather, kind of passing on down to your dad.
Yeah.
I remember your dad. I remember growing up at the racetrack and your dad always being there and doing something on race cars. I mean, this kind of really been always involved in the sport.
My last memory of my dad racing was I thought he went out in the pond. That was the last time I remember him racing. I was pretty young. He quit when I was only just a few years old, really. But so most of his stuff was still right before me too. He blames it on me is why he had to quit. He said, "You came along and I had to quit racing."
Yeah, don't let the guilt trip affect you.
I didn't buy it.
Yeah,
but
then I remember being out at Willamette and this '99 cart showing up with sideboards, Goulet racing on the side. Fans. It started your career.
Season was 25 out of 26 mains we won.
It's pretty impressive.
That's
So at that time I was 13 years old. I was a year too young to be in the adult 4 class, but they moved me up. Bill let me, and I was racing against men.
Right.
I was the youngest kid in the class by years. By at least 10.
Yeah.
Oh, they were mad.
That was a fast cart.
Happy.
I remember that cart very well.
Yeah. But
very fast carts. That kind of spurred you on a racing career that's seen you run several different ranks, whether it's the street stocks, the modifieds. We've seen you in super late models, open comp outlaw cars
everything
with sideboards.
But a 4-cylinder.
Yep.
I won't do that.
We've kind of. Well, I don't know if it's 4-cylinder to move you.
No, probably not. I'd need 2 of them.
You would. You have to have inline 4-cylinders.
Yeah, inline 4-cylinders.
Yeah,
tandems.
Put them side by side. Yeah.
So the first year you were actually in a stock car, you were how old?
21.
21. So I thought you were actually younger than that.
No. I had left for a couple years to go to school in Arizona.
Arizona, yep.
And I come back so I was 20 when I got back, and that was in the following summer. So I was 21. I turned 21 that year. And I drove for Dana and Laura Mason, which was actually supposed to be just a temporary thing because he had twisted his knee and had.
And that was a '95 car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was an asphalt car. It was a Chevelle, full frame Chevelle with an aluminum body on it, but it had truck arms and everything. It was set up just like NASCAR. JJ Zaffino built it.
I remember JJ. I used to work with him.
And anyway, he called me up and asked if I'd fill in for him because he had hurt his knee. He wasn't going to quit racing, but he wanted to run for points and needed somebody to drive the car for a little bit. So I filled in, and I never got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kept climbing, and then the next year we got into late models and ran. That was back with the big boards.
Right.
No roof, wedge noses.
Yep.
Back when it was a little bit crazy.
The great era.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I went through the transition to no boards. So there's a learning curve there. I mean, back then I never really had a car that was that great, so the boards really helped.
Sure. Sure.
But anyway, and then we kind of separated, kind of just timing, funds, life happened.
Right. So that team split.
Yeah.
And then from there.
Went to a super sport, drove for Dean Dibble.
That was in the 7 car.
Yeah. And then we had a pretty good year that year.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that was the first feature I got in the big cars.
Right.
Was in that car.
I remember that win.
And that was his first win and my first win, and he'd been around racing for a long time.
Right,
too.
very long time.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then we got out of that and got into the modified. We decided that was going to be a little more feasible to what we wanted to do, maybe.
Now you found a lot of success in the modified ranks.
We had some. It didn't start out very good. I mean, we had some learning to do. I learned more about driving in that car than any other car I had been in, about footwork and finesse, and everything else I had before that was just a stomp and steer situation, and that's how we all used to drive.
Right.
Right.
With those big boards, you could do that.
Yeah. And this was definitely not that. You didn't want to do that, and I learned real quick that if you weren't smooth with your feet, the car was not going to be smooth with you. So, so that was probably one of my favorite cars to drive, just because of the learning experience. And at that same time, that's when I met Al.
Al Flora, the current car owner.
The current car owner.
A rowdy old gangster.
And rowdy old gangster, straight from New York.
He is, too.
Yeah.
You got to watch that dude.
And driving for him was just kind of a fluke deal.
How did that come about? Because I don't think anybody really knows.
No. So he had several different drivers. And this particular year, Ron Schinkel was supposed to drive for him. Well, something happened. Ron couldn't race one weekend. I think it was early in the season. I don't know if it was first or second race anyway. They were racing down at Cottage Grove, and I had the modified I was driving, and we were going down there too. And actually, Mike Miller called me and said, "Hey, can you fill in, for Ron?" He goes, "Al wants me to drive the car, but I don't want to do double duty. I want to focus on my car. And would you mind driving it?" And I said, "Sure, why not?
Sure,
I'll do it as long as he wants me to." And Al didn't know much about me, and I didn't know much about him, and I went out in hot laps and wrecked the car.
Oh no! Oh no!
So that's how our venture started off, and then the next weekend, Ron.
Did you get to run the feature that first night?
No. We got it fixed. Went back out to the heat race, and it broke again. Our fix didn't hold. It was we took some parts off some old farm equipment that was stuffed out in the ditch back behind the racetrack. And anyway, it didn't work. So anyway, next weekend back, Ron got back in the car, and I didn't hear from him again. He ended up blowing the motor, and then he found another kid to drive for him. And again, he called me up and said, "Hey, can you come drive this car for me one weekend? Because I need to know if the car's right." This kid that he had in it came out of cage karts. He didn't have any experience in big cars, so we couldn't really give him the feedback he needed. So I said, "Sure, I'll drive it. Just leave everything the same." And we had a good night. We ended up finishing third that night. We started towards the back, finished third. That's when they put the faster cars in the back, not up at the front. And that was it. From then on, I've been in it, and we're going on our 7th year.
Guys, you guys have been together quite a while as a team, and have seen a lot of success, a lot of wins.
We've put some big checks on the wall.
Now, have you walked through and looked at all the cars here?
I have.
What's it like to walk through and see your old Mercury Cougar sitting down there with a different number on it?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah?
No, I
know you're going to miss that car.
Well, yeah. I mean, you always do.
There was a lot of wins in that car.
There was. It was a good car. It was a great car.
It's ran its
for
course.
Where we're going, yeah. And I mean, it was a race car for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It had been, and it's been through some hits.
Yeah,
some hard hits.
And then the rookie driver in it would be a good, safe car for someone to learn in.
It would be the perfect car for somebody to learn in because it is forgiving. It's basic. We had one adjustment on that car, and that was the sway bar. That was it. That was the only adjustment on that car.
Yeah,
and
that car really. And when we talked about it last night, I said that car was nothing special. I mean, it really isn't anything special.
No,
that car is, like you said, basic is a great word to describe that race car.
It is. It was probably one of the most legit, true street stocks out there.
Yeah.
As far as completely stock, everything.
Mm-hmm.
We ran out automatic in it for up until just last year. I mean, it
was. Well, the new car.
Yeah.
Is on the opposite end of the spectrum from that one.
Well. Kind of,
but
it's still
not kind of a lot.
It's still a legit legal.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a legal car.
But
it's just we're way more advanced when you're comparing apples to apples.
We're trying to go ahead of the spectrum, not just chase it.
Right.
We're trying to get on the other end of it and be to the point where hopefully they're chasing us. That's what I want.
Well, I think with that car you've got, that's probably going to be a good probability. Once you get that car dialed in, that's a nice ride. It's a nice ride. There's a lot of time spent putting that thing together the right way. And anybody that knows you and Al knows that nothing's half-assed. It's going to be 100%. Right. It's going to be right. It's going to be on point, or it's not going to be at all.
Right. And that's been some of our discussions. I think we could probably – no.
Yeah,
we're doing this.
No, we're not skimping here.
Yeah, we want to build it right. We want it to last. We want it to work. We want it, we don't want to go out there and build weak spots into it and know that could be an issue. We want it done right. And even if it takes us a couple of weeks into the season, we're fine with that. I mean,
sure.
There's no point.
Well, with any new race car, you're going to work out the bugs.
There's going to be a huge learning curve, and there's nobody out there that we can talk to about this car.
Yeah, you guys are doing everything so different with the Ford, the Mercury, power, the car itself is truly one of a kind in the class.
Mm-hmm. And, there is a site on Facebook of guys that have these cars that are building them, right?
Okay.
But every single one of them is going in a straight line. None of them I've used them for circle track, so I've posted some of my pictures on there, and they just come unglued. They're like, "What are you doing? Why?
Why'd you ruin that car?"
Well, first off, don't cut it up and make a race car. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they were that special, but
yeah, it's a pretty tight niche. I mean, it's because that car you're in is actually a Mercury Zephyr.
Yes.
Still a Ford product, but a Mercury Zephyr, and I didn't know there was a large group of fans of that car until you started talking about it not long ago. And we were kind of like, what? I went online and looked, and sure enough, there's actual clubs for Zephyr fans. The Zephyr is not a sports car.
No, and I had no idea. And when Al first showed me the picture of this car, when we were thinking about, okay, we had decided with the Cougar that it is at its max. We're done. We can't go any further. It's not going to go any faster unless we start doing stuff illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't going to cheat to win. I don't think you're winning if you're cheating.
I agree.
I will work the gray area like nobody's business.
Well, and that's
our job.
Sure.
That's what we do. And that's how we make rules happen.
I think every racer thinks along that line.
You have to.
You do.
But that car was done. And we sat down, we were like, okay, we need to do something. We need to make a change.
So how did you guys come about the Mercury Zephyr? Why did you guys select that car?
One of the things I liked about it, and so seeing a lot of these factory 4-link cars coming out and watching them work, I'm not going to say that they drive off the corner better than a leaf spring car. Like you watch the Camaros and how they move, or David Kronk's Chevelle. I mean, it would come off the corner stronger than anything. It's hard to beat those cars because they get axle wrap, they get motion to the ground. The 4-link cars are locked. There's not much rear end twist or movement. But where I noticed, in my opinion, that they were better is on entry and through the middle. And it don't matter how you come off if you can't get through the middle.
Right. That's a fact.
That, to me, is the most important part of the racetrack. And that's where they were beating me every single weekend. I could pull them or run with them off, but that's where they would gain that
the
half
Coug
car
was a little tight there. Yep.
And then the other thing is that with the new rules, they come out with, like, you can run the crate motor, and then you only have to be 3,100 pounds. Well, we were almost 3,700 pounds on race day with no lead on the car.
That's a lot of weight.
It was like 3,650. And when you're giving up 500 pounds on a car,
that's a lot.
That's a lot of weight to try to get moving.
Anytime you start talking about your power to weight ratio, that's really where it's at in these cars.
Mm-hmm. And you get that. What are you looking at? You get that 500 pounds sliding into a corner or doing,
Exactly.
It makes a huge difference.
I still can't believe you were 36.5.
Yeah, it's heavy.
That is crazy.
So it weighed enough. That car by itself made weight without me in it.
And you're a big boy.
Yeah, last year I was 340 pounds. So,
but race fans, if you haven't met Tiny Justin Evans, he's what are you 6'7" now?
No, I'm 6'5" is enough.
6'5" is enough. But look at the weight he's lost. You see him online. He's working out. What are you down about 280?
No. I'm 296 last time I got on
296, okay.
So I'm 50 pounds down from what I was.
Hence the reason why he is no longer big Justin Evans. He is tiny.
He's trimmed up. He's in shape. He's got arms bigger than your legs, Joel.
Dude, he's got arms bigger than my head.
Yeah, well, no, that's not true. Nobody's got anything bigger than your head. That's just the way it is. So I'm excited to see this new car. I mean, this one car in that class has really got everybody. It's a buzz. It's a buzz right now. Everybody's.
And that's crazy to me because I haven't really heard a whole lot. I mean, people will make.
Well, they're not going to say it to you,
and they're not saying nothing to me. And this community as well as I do, we will say stuff.
Well, but here's the thing. This is why I say this. I had a sit-down meeting a couple of weeks ago with, the two guys running the Iron Giant series with Chris Sine and James Whitehouse. Before we went on the air, before we even had a discussion about that car, both those drivers, I asked them. I said, "What car are you expecting with all the new stuff coming out? What are you expecting to be one of the cars to be? I mean, who are you really looking at right now?" And both those guys smiled and they said 99. Like that 99 car. I mean, everybody knows Langen's going to be fast. Everybody knows that when Chris Sine shows up, he's going to be fast, and Kyle Yak and everybody knows that.
Right.
Everybody knows how fast you were in that Coug. And everybody knows that car was nothing special. I mean, truly. Now they're looking at you, knowing the talent that you have in the cockpit and then the type of race car you're building. They're kind of going, we might be in trouble. But they said it in such a complimentary fashion. And there was nothing that – in fact, I'll tell you right now, both those guys backed you up 100% because there's been rumors, and we've heard them about, that car